to quickly introduce yourself, and then we can go ahead with the session?
Sure, definitely. So good afternoon, everyone. It's really our pleasure to be with you this afternoon to discuss some of the very insightful and very interesting topic, business innovation, and how theory of constraints, our expert area, is going to accelerate the business innovation. So in this particular session, we would like to cover some of the very key fundamental topics in the form of the following agenda. So Akshat, if you go to my next slide, what we want to cover is a very quick brief about who we are in terms of Goldratt Consulting and what are the work we do, those kind of things. And more importantly, what is not an innovation? Let me tell you, with our experience of having these kind of sessions to many organizations, maybe this may be beyond our 100 or 150th session, we see a fundamental confusion in three specific areas: the change, improvement, and innovation. Nobody have a clarity, and we are going to bring that clarity today. So the clarity, the difference between the change, improvement, and innovation starts with asking a very challenging question to ourselves: what is not an innovation? We are going to cover it in very detail. And then the third aspect is, what are all the typical challenges that we have personally experienced some of our clients are grappling with in terms of the innovation? And because somebody wants to have some question. So what are the typical challenges in innovation, and how do we overcome those challenges specifically? We are going to go deeper. And what is the theory of constraints based innovation framework? And the final is, what could be the potential next steps for the audience of this particular session? A quick view about the Goldratt Consulting. Our group is founded by Dr. AIRIA Goldratt, who is the originator of theory of constraints methodology. He is basically is based out of Israel, doctorate in physics, and he propagated this.
Can I request everyone to please?
I think somebody is unmuted by mistake. My request is, if you want to ask any questions, you can unmute. Otherwise, you can keep on mute, or you can post it in the chat window. So, Dr. Goldratt started publicizing the theory of constraints through the book Gold. You must be knowing it, in the beginning of 1975s. And this organization is converting the parts which got published in the book into the practical work, and hence he formed a separate company called the Goldratt Group, and we are part of the Goldratt Group. Currently, it is run by Rami Goldratt, who is our CEO, son of Dr. Goldratt. And our specialty is, we have 4 decades of knowledge development and thought leadership in the theory of constraints space. And our implementation experience goes beyond 1,500 implementation worldwide. And as we speak, we have more than 180 clients across the globe. And we belong to the APAC division. I'm heading the manufacturing and distribution vertical for the APAC division. In our division, we have more than 140 consultants. Some of the companies who have successfully implemented theory of constraints in one form or other, with our help, in India, if it's a Tata Steel, JCP, Aditya Birla, Titan Group, Tata Rallies, Godrej Consumer Products, Chroma Injection. In China, Dunley, Volkswagen, Moons, Rongrun. And in global player, it is Chrysler, Panasonic, Mazda, Delta Airlines, US Air Force. And the client list is counting and counting as we speak. So what do we do in this theory of constraint space is basically 3 things. The first and then the foremost important thing is the innovation. That's where our expertise comes from. Some of the clients who have done an amazing job using theory of constraints. Framework for the innovation is Omron, Boschek. I think some of the points, Mazda, some of the companies, we may go a little deeper in terms of our case study as part of this particular session as well. And in innovation, what we bring to the table is a guided process for an out-of-box thinking. See the paradox. They are very guided, systematic process for an out-of-box thinking. This has 4 elements to this framework, starting from how do we improve the value proposition, and how do we convert this improved value proposition in the form of a business model, and how do we execute the business model, and using all these things, how do we create next generation products for the markets. And this is the innovation vertical, or the pillar is the one which we are going to go a little deeper. But in addition to this, what we also do is about strategy. In the strategy, some of the companies who have done an amazing, wonderful job is Sanyo, Moons, Tata Steel. Here the framework is a simple 3 questions. Simple, but it is not easy to implement. Simple 3 questions are what to change, and what to change to the new way of doing the management, and how to cause the change. And by asking these simple fundamental questions, we can help the companies in redefining their strategy for their transformation. And then the third framework, which we also use in bringing an operational excellence to the table. Some of the clients who have done an amazing job, wonderful job in the operational excellence. Akshat, if you could go. JCBs, Codings, Prisms, Metro Shoes, Tangamay Jewelries, Johnson's & Johnson's, Magic LED Lightings, Peter England, L&T, previous slide is actually. So here the framework, what we do is, our focal point is improving the flow. Flow of what? Flow of could be anything. It could be order, it could be a rotation of stocks, it could be the amount of cash generated in the business. Flow entity can be anything. And the framework is removing the obstacles for the flow and reduce the WAP so that the speed can be picked up, and setting a rhythm based upon the minimum capacity resource. People who have undergone theory of constraints, basic knowledge in the form of goal book would have understood the bottleneck. So this is the broad picture where our expertise, what we do as a company, Goldratt Group, and some of the clients across the globe. I would like to place it here. These people, it is actually a countless client. Just to give you the view, how many people have done a wonderful job, radical change, mind-boggling improvement to the bottom line is some of these clients. And from here, we are going to go very deep about the business innovation and our thoughts on it. Very insightful, very interesting session. So Akshat, can I request you to take this forward so that I can chip in time to time?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Visu. And good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining in and welcome to the session. I would request, if any of you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to interrupt and stop, and we can discuss. So to start with, TOC for business innovation, the knowledge for this was given by Dr. Ellie Goldratt way back in early 1990s. Since then, the knowledge has never been publicly published in any of the books or journals, but Goldratt Consulting have been implementing this knowledge practically in companies of all the sizes, right from the startup companies to large companies like Mazda, Panasonic, Tata Motors, Titan. Some of the things that they did, we will discuss as we go through the session. But point is that this knowledge is very versatile, and it has been done multiple times with many companies. And I have been personally part of some of these implementations in India as well as in China. And my experience is that the power is amazing. If the process can be followed, then you don't need any more new knowledge. The knowledge resides inside the company, and innovative ideas, innovative business models can come out through following this simple process, but powerful, right? So let's dive right in. I would like to start with a quotation which summarizes the whole essence of this approach of TOC for business innovation. The quotation goes like this. It's a very famous quotation. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes, right? What does it mean? In the context of business, the new landscape that we are seeking, which is the innovative landscape, right? The innovative products, services, business models, all these innovative landscapes that we are seeking is not something which is out there, which we have to go and find. It's right in front of our eyes. Okay. However, we are not able to see that reality just because we are not seeing it from the right perspective. We have been used to work in a certain way. We have been used to see things in a certain way, and that needs to change. That perspective needs to change. That's the new eyes here. Okay. And the power of this approach of TOC is to break that inertia of seeing the same thing in the way we have been seeing and give us the new eyes or new lenses, new perspectives through which we can see our own current reality, and then we can identify what are the innovative approaches that lies right in front of us, right? What is this new eyes? This new eyes is the eyes of the customer. Okay, so we will go through that as we go further in the session, but that's the key. And I would again like to highlight that this process of business innovation does not need any more new information than what you already have within the company. That's good enough. We don't need market surveys. We don't need customer feedbacks. Whatever you have is good enough. We just need to follow the process step by step to arrive at the business idea. And not only that, that is just step one. That idea needs to be converted into a business model. Okay, we cannot simply have an idea and say, okay, now that's it, we'll just go and implement. There has to be a business model behind it. So the whole aspects of the business needs to be thought through and then implemented in reality. So this framework covers everything, right from idea generation to idea implementation and finally building on more ideas. Okay, so let's go ahead. But before we do that, I would like to be very, very clear as to what we mean by innovation. The word innovation has been used and rather misused and abused many times. So we need to be very clear what we mean by innovation when we say innovation, right? So here I would like to you you can the chat box. Improvement and innovation. Just type in, it would really help me to know what you guys are thinking so that we can steer the presentation accordingly. You think these two words are same? Okay, let me ask you a question just so that it triggers your imagination. A company has got a car model which gives an efficiency of, let's say, 20 miles per hour. Now they have done some technological changes inside, and now the efficiency comes to 22 miles per hour. Okay, so do you think this is an improvement or it's an innovation? Anyone? Just put in your comment, or maybe shall I ask? Okay. Improvement, Babu. K says improvement, right? Improvement. Okay. Okay, great. So this is an improvement, right? So it's very clear to us that, okay, this is an improvement, right? The way we define improvement, then let's define it. It is about giving customers more of what they that's what we we have more and more. That similarly, on the mobiles, we have apps that can do certain things, and we have more apps that can do the same thing. Okay, having more apps, that's also improvement. Right? Having fashion, I mean, we go to the stores and we so many fashions. That's all improvement. Someone is saying audio disturbance. Is it for all of us, all of you, or am I clear? Visu, am I clear?
Oh, there was a audio disturbance. I think network is up and down, Akshay, at your end.
Okay, okay.
Probably you may want to change the network connection to something else if it is available.
Okay, okay. Can I just take a second to do that?
Yeah.
Just a second. Apologies. I hope it will be okay now.
I think you have improved your network connection rather than innovating.
Yes, that was an improvement. Exactly. Great. So I think we all are clear on what is improvement. But then the important question is, what is innovation? Because everyone has their own definition of innovation. Okay. So the way we will define innovation as innovation is something which creates value. Okay. Now, again, this is a new word that we're introducing. It's not new for all of you. You have heard the word value, I'm sure, but then it means different for different people. So let's go by the term or the definition how Dr. Goldratt has defined what is creating value. So as in Dr. Goldratt's word, value is created by removing a significant limitation for the customer in a way that was not possible before and to the extent that no significant competitor can deliver. Okay, so this is a long statement. Let's break it. Value is created by removing a significant limitation for the customer, right? So not for anyone else, for the customer. And the limitation should be very significant. For example, some of the limitations which customer might be experiencing, but some of the limitations customer might not be experiencing. If I take the car example that we discussed with the fuel efficiency improvement, now if that model comes with something which runs on electric vehicles, that's an innovation, because that's the capability which customer didn't have earlier. And also the limitation that we have to continue to use fossil fuels, which is costly, environment not friendly. So those limitations were removed. Another example is another important thing is that this limitation the customer may not be even aware of. For example, before the wheels were invented, do you think the customer, the users of the wheel were even aware that what is the limitation of not having the wheel? No, right? So that's the important point, that we have to be able to find the limitation even when the customer is not able to experience or verbalize it. You might, because customer has become used to it. So it is our duty to be able to find the limitation which customer is experiencing. And not just that, once we have find out, it should be resolved in a way that was not possible before. Okay. And the way it should be done is, it's not easy to be copied. Otherwise, all the hard work that we have done, the competitors can simply copy and go ahead. Okay. Even if you know the Steve Jobs, he famously used to say, a lot of times people don't know what they want until you show it to them. Right. So we have to be able to show it to the people what they really want. And those should be really powerful limitations which they themselves don't realize that they're facing. The starting point of TOC's approach for business innovation is value. Remember this. This is one takeaway which I would request everyone to keep a note of it. The business innovation framework of TOC starts with identifying the value. Okay, this is one critical takeaway. And what is value? As we define, value is something which we create when a significant limitation of the customer is removed in a way that was not possible before, and to the extent that no significant competitor can deliver. So let's take some examples, real life examples, so that we understand what is the meaning of significant limitation. And I would like to take some examples from the some of our implementations, but also from the general what we see the companies innovating. Okay, so this is the question to all of you. What limitations do the following companies remove for their customer? The first one is Omron blood pressure. This company Omron was the one who started this blood pressure monitoring device. Okay, I'm sure either you have seen it somewhere or you have it one at your home as well. What do you think is the limitation which this company's product removed for the customers? Just anyone. It would be nice to really hear your views. Otherwise, it will be just a monologue. We don't have to go to doctor every time. Very good. Specifications. So I think Mr. Ramdas has captured it very well. We don't have to go to the doctor every time. Earlier, whenever there was a problem, we would have to go to the doctor, right, to measure the blood pressure. But now this machine gives us the ability to be able to use this at home. Okay, but we will also see going forward. We will also see going forward that how this limitations was really arrived at, and how just not that we have, it's okay to have the device, but how to make people use this device more and more, because now that you have this device at home, you can record your blood pressures continuously, so that whenever there is a change in trend, you know that something's wrong, and then you can go to the doctor much earlier than what you would do it in the current times without this machine, right? You would go only when you don't feel well, but now you don't have to wait for that. You can keep monitoring the trend, and whenever you see there is some change in the trend, then you can go to the doctor. Good, good. What do you think IKEA has removed the limitation for to their customer? Everyone knows IKEA. So IKEA was able to provide to the customers, a large base of customers, contemporary furnitures, which are very costly. It was not affordable to have the contemporary furnitures. Assemble furniture at home is the value they have given additional, but the limitation that they removed was they were able to provide contemporary furnitures at the low price. Okay. Another interesting one is this Google. What do you think Google removed? What limitation Google removed? And thereby what value they provided? The good results. Okay. Any better verbalization? I understand what you're saying, but any better verbalization? So Google searching for an imperfect. So the limitation was that the users were not able to search for the right information in short time. So Google overcome this limitation. There's one more big limitation which Google removed for the advertisers. What is that? For the advertisers, the biggest limitation is how do you reach your target audience in the cheapest possible way? And Google was able to deliver that. Google was able to get the advertisers reach the target audience in a much more seamless and cheaper way, right? So this is the power of advertise related info. Yes, that's great. So this is the power of overcoming the limitation, significant limitation, which customers are facing, may be aware, maybe not aware. And then if you have the business model around overcoming this limitation, then you have got a winner. Okay.
Akshay, there are a couple of limitation examples which we can quote from our day-to-day life also, Akshay.
Sure, Viju. Sure.
Say, for example, I remember about 10, 15 years back, when we carry the luggage, when we go for some long distance travel, when we carry the luggage, the biggest limitation that I have personally experienced, I hope the rest of the people, most of the people also would have experienced, is how to carry that luggage. Such a weighted a portion. Say,
Right.
for example, we are going for about 7 days trip. How do we carry that luggage? And then along with that family, when we go with the kids, how do we carry the kids? So that is the reason, if you observe in railway stations, mostly there are set of people who can carry your luggage on behalf of you, called coolies.
Right.
But nowadays there is no such limitation at all. After the invention of wheeled luggages, when there are four wheels attached to the luggage at the bottom of it, now that limitation is completely eradicated. And in most of the railway stations, wherever I go, I don't find a particular sector of the job called coolie. Similarly, even because we are discussing with the giants of rubber industries, my personal experience, I'm not sure how many of the audience will agree with me. Whenever I used to drive a car about 20 years, 25 years back, the biggest uncertainty is when there is a puncture or the tire become flat. Get into a you cannot predict. It will get into a immediate stop, or it may completely topple your car, or it may get into a major accident. Majority of the accidents contributed is because of the flat tire. Nowadays, I don't know how many of you have observed, you cannot find the major contribution to the accidents because of the flat tire. Can anybody make an answer? What was the change or innovation happened in the tire, basically the vehicle, automotive tire space? The biggest innovation happened in the recent about 10, 12 years. Exactly. Amazing.
Excellent.
Tubeless. Exactly. This means what? But even if you are driving and your tire got flat, at least it will help you to sail through for another 30, 40, 50 odd kilometers. And now it is an insignificant contribution. That flat tires is an insignificant contribution to the major accidents. These are our day-to-day life examples where the innovation is implemented to its the practicality.
Great example.
Akshay, back to you.
Great
Back to
example.
you.
Perfect. Thanks, Visu. Just very quickly, another very big example is long before, when there was credit cards, we were finding it a bit scary to use that credit card online. There was not too many of security things. So then PayPal came up with the idea that you don't have to share the card information with everyone. That's the limitation which PayPal overcame long time back. There's another drug which is Lipter, which reduces bad cholesterol level, but the side effect earlier was that muscle used to degrade by taking such medicines. So this medicine of Lipter, while reducing the bad cholesterol level, removes the side effect as well. So these are some of the limitations which some customers face in some cases, but some other cases the customers don't face, or they, even if they face, they don't realize that it's a problem, right? So that's the limitation we're talking about. And to focus our development effort, we must clearly define what is the limitation that we aim to remove for our customer. This is another takeaway. Whatever effort we should make as a company, as an organization, it should be driven towards removing the limitation for the customer. Okay, and what limitation? How do you identify what is the limitation? How do we identify what is the value? Whether it is worth pursuing? All that is the TOC's approach for business innovation that framework covers. Great. So going ahead, what are the challenges in the conventional innovation? Whenever a company thinks of innovating, the first thing that comes is the fear. Okay, and fear is very genuine because there are certain major challenges which we don't know how to overcome. Most initiatives for the new products or new markets are not successful. This has been proven with statistics. Okay, very few organizations are able to really make it big. The radical changes which this innovation suggests are difficult to execute because we are all working as a team, right? So we have to get the whole team along. And then once the team is along, we have to get the market along. So it's not easy to execute it and difficult to make the market follow. Hard to translate current assets, which can be either machineries or also knowledges and IPs, to new products or businesses. We have certain machineries, we have certain knowledge. We want to only use those. We cannot go for adding something completely different out of the box, right? So how do we translate what we have to the idea that we have got? That is another big issue. The development cycle for new innovation is long, expensive, and risky. You have to keep doing multiple trials till you are there, and then during this whole process, you have to last as a company. So how do you really, do that? And this is what are the limitations which the POC's framework overcame, right? So that the framework of POC for business innovation itself is an innovation, and the limitation that it is solving are these limitations for the customer. What is the limitation? If I have to say in one word, that to be able to make an innovation and to make it really big, it has to be a stroke of genius. It has to be like an art, right? So this framework removed that limitation and has converted this art into a science. And when we say science, it is very solidly based on cause and effect, and it is very process driven. Anyone with the right intent can follow that process and arrive at this innovative approach. And I have personally seen this happening many times, and there are multiple case studies that we have done for companies of all sizes in all the geographies very successfully in a very short time. It is not that it takes very long, because as I said, it is the knowledge is all available with you. Just the point is we have to follow through this process. Great. So let's start and dive right into the framework. Now this framework has got three parts to it. The first part is how do we identify the value, as we discussed, okay, the value proposition of this whole innovation. To be able to do that, we have to go through three major steps. First, we have to search for the value, right? We have to identify the limitation and search what value to give to overcome that limitation. So value search. And not just that, it's easy to think, okay, this is the limitation, this is the search, but what concept, what is the design of that product or the service or the business model, whatever, how do you design that? Okay, that concept. So that's the next part, we have to design it. And not just that, that again can be done, but then how do we evaluate that? Is it really worth pursuing? Because company is spending so much of time and effort, it has to be really worth it to go that, and that needs to be evaluated much before. So once this is done, we arrive at what is the value that the business is going to get from this value offerings in the market. Once we have identified that, that's not done. This is only the first step. The next major step is to prepare a business model. As you might see in most of the cases, once the value is identified, we might see that the current business model is not good to deliver that value. I will show you an example of Nescafe, how they created a completely new business model, even though they were having a very strong business model for their other categories, other business segments. So we have to develop the business model. And the way to develop the business model is first we have to design it. And while we are designing, we have to look at all our current strengths. This is the point that traditional innovation framework puts much earlier. In POC, it comes much later. We have to see the current assets now in this stage. And then once we have designed the business model, which includes our distribution, our revenue channels, our partnerships, our advertisement. So when I say business model, it includes all of it. So how do we do all of it? Is comprising in business model design. And then not just that, we have to take that business model and put it in the market. So how are we going to deliver that business model in the market? How are we going to convince our customers about this business model? Right. So that whole buying process has to be designed. And then again, as with the value proposition, there has to be a way to be able to assess this business model before we put it in execution, because now the next step is much more costly. We are, hitting the roads. And so these are the three things that we do under business model. And then the third and the biggest step is execution. Okay. And in execution, the first thing we see is where we are versus where we want to reach. So we have to do that gap assessment. It's a whole project study that comes out of this step. And then we have to make sure that we are progressing much at the speed that we want, that we have planned. Okay, so there's a mechanism for that, which is called gates management. And not just that, as we do this, sometimes it might happen that we are not getting the results what we anticipated. Okay, so we have to be ready for it. And as a scientist would do for any failures, he would treat this as something to learn from. He would do a mystery analysis, that what went wrong because of which we're not getting the results. And then there is a process for that. It's not just think and sit and something will glow, not like that. So this is a mystery analysis process that has to be done.
There is another beauty to this model, what you are telling, Akshay.
Yes, Vizu.
While that is a sequence, I completely agree in terms of the value proposition. Second sequence is business model. Third sequence is execution plan. The beauty of this framework is that it can be started from any point in time.
Excellent.
For example, there were clients who have told us, we have done our value proposition. We do not want your help, Goldratt Group. We don't need your help. But can you help us in converting this value proposition to the business model, where we have extended our help? They were successful. There are certain clients who told us, value proposition also we have completed. Business model also we are very clear, but we need help. We need help in terms of converting the business model into an execution plan. There also we have helped. So as a message to the audience, what we would like to give you is that while this 9-step process under the 3 categories is sequential to be done, don't restrict yourself that every time when you engage with us, we have to start all the way from starting. It can be started based upon the mutual convenience. The starting point could be anywhere, but the sequence must be standard. So that's the point I wanted to mark here.
Excellent point, Visu. That's correct. While we can follow through the process, but some companies are already there. So why do we have to repeat the whole thing? So we can take it forward from there. Perfect. Very well said. Now, I would like to, highlight a very important aspect of this framework. Traditionally, when you think of innovation, or when you look for innovation, it's all about generating more and more ideas, more newness. But this framework is not about that. It's about, at certain point in time, you need more, so you expand. But once you have expanded, you need a way to filter it out. So then you contract. And then with this small thing, again, you might have to have various things that you can do for business model. And again, you reduce, okay, this is the best option. And then what are the execution possibilities? Again, you expand. And then again, you find out which you want to go ahead. So this expansion and contraction is the beauty of this framework. At right stage, it allows you to expand. And at the right stage, it allows you to contract. And this is the wisdom. Okay, wisdom lies in knowing when to expand the scope for more ideas and when to narrow it down and focus on the selected few. So this framework allows you to do that. Great. So for today's session, we will discuss some aspect of the value proposition. We will leave the rest for some time later. Now, let's dive in and let's understand the value search. How do we really search for the value? Okay. And this, I believe, is a very, very important first step. And hence, we thought that let's get a little deeper into this subject of value search. In this value search, there are 3 main steps. Okay, or rather 3 different ways. I would not say steps, but it's different ways. You can take any of these, or you can take both of this, all 3 of it. and you might arrive at a different more ideas, or you might arrive at same idea from two different routes as well. And what you will arrive at, you will arrive at the ways to focus on reducing customers significant limitation for your own industries, for your own products. How can you find out how to reduce customer significant limitation? First, identify what is customer significant limitation itself. So these are the three different ways. The first one is called minus minus. It is basically, there's a term for it. It's called customer's eye. So customer's eye, basically, when you look the things from customer's eye, you want to see what are the pain points the customers are facing, and then you reduce it. That's why it's minusing the minus. So it's minus minus. Okay. And then once you have done that, I would advise you to keep following this approach. First, you go from customer side, because now you're used to seeing things from customer side, and then only go to market side. Don't jump to the market side and go to customer side. In market side, what we do is we look for certain segments, certain behaviors within the market segment that we are working with, and identify what are the unfulfilled needs of customers in various segments. I will tell you how to do it as we go ahead. But the idea is to find out certain customers who have certain unfulfilled needs. And if this segment is large enough, then we know that we have got an idea to work on, or the limitation to solve rather. The third and the very important one is product side. This comes last. And this comes only after we have done this too. In this product side, we look at the product itself, and we look at the features of these products with the customer's value, and see how these features can be substantially changed, either enhanced or significantly reduced, so that by doing that, we cater to a certain segments of the customer much more better, some niche segment. Okay, so let's see the customer's eye in little more detail as to how have we done it. And I will share one real life examples, which I was also part of. Customer's eye, analyzing customer's pain point. Okay, this is a very, very powerful thinking process tool of theory of constraints. It is helping us to analyze customers' pain point, and we use this very often in a lot of our implementation. So it starts with first listing down the major undesirable effects. So from time to time, you would know, you don't have to ask them, you would know that what are the problems that the customers are facing by using the products or services of your company or the competitors. So in general, the category. Look for the one which is very meaningful for the customer. There will be some problems which is like, it's just a small thing, it's fine, I can live with it. But then there are certain things which, if it can be resolved, it will be amazing. So look for the one problem, or look for certain few of those problems which is really meaningful for the customers to solve. And then we have to see if this UDE basically are undesirable effects, is a technical term that we commonly use. So are there some core undesirable effects which is causing many undesirable effects? Like in a human body, you have certain problems which is just on the outer surface, but certain inside problems which is hidden, but that causes many other problems outside. So there in companies also, this would be happening. And then we have to do this first three steps: list major UDs, look for meaningful, which is meaningful, and are there core UDs. With these three things we should do for all the stakeholders in the ecosystem that we are catering to. We might do it for our customer, immediate customer, or we might do it for customer's customer. We might do it for our channel partners. So we have to do it for all the key stakeholders of our ecosystem. When we do, eventually things will come out something like this. When you link this UDs with the cause and effect, it will come something like this: the one which is causing another one and causing another one. And at the center, often that we have seen is there is certain vicious loop. One problem is causing another problem, is causing another problem, and then it is enhancing the first problem that we started with. So it's like a loop. You get into the loop. It's like a whirlpool. You keep going into it deeper and deeper. And I would like to show you this, how to do, or an example, of flavor of it. Because of time, we cannot get into too much of detail, but a flavor of this I would like to do with an example of this company called Sherry Dory, which we have worked very closely with. This is a company which owns a brand called Sherry Dory, and they do gold jewelries, diamond and gold jewelries. They produce it and then they distribute or they sell it through the retail partners. Now, we done this exercise of identifying the customer pain points and all that, but eventually what we got is the core vicious loop that I will show you just so that you get some idea. Is there is a belief that, not belief, there is a fact of life that to sell more, store needs to hold more inventory. Okay, this was fact of life for everyone. The more inventory you hold or you have in display, the more is the chance of striking a sales. It's true for us as well. Okay, this company is based in US, but I'm sure this is globally true. If you have more, then only you can sell more. But what is the problem? The problem is it is a very slow turn environment. Okay, if one product gets sold within 3 months of the purchase, retailers purchase it from Cherry Dory, right? So within 3 months, if it gets sold, it is considered wow. It is considered as fast seller. So when there is such a slow moving environment, imagine what happens when you keep more inventory. There is a high probability of creating dead stocks. The more the store inventory, higher is the probability to create dead stock, because it will not move for very long, right? Only few can be the fast movers. Not everything can be fast movers. And what does this dead stock means? It means cash is blocked and you don't have unlimited cash supply. So you have to first get rid of the existing inventory, but existing inventory is not selling because it is not fresh. So the more dead stock, more is the blockage for potential sales of new and fresh items. You understand this? You need to hold more inventory, but the more you hold, the more dead inventory you create, the more cash is blocked. And because your cash is blocked, you're now not able to buy more products, and hence you're not able to sell. So it gets into this vicious loop, and all of this is causing huge problem. Profitability down, no cash flow, margins down because you have to sell in discounts. So this is not the new problem for the industry. Industry were aware of it, but they were only accepting this as part of their life. They thought, they didn't realize that this could be changed. So how did they operate? How did they live with this problem? So the way they used to live with is, if anyway you have to work in collaboration. The retailers and Cherry Dory has to work with each other in collaboration. So the need for the stores is freshness without inflating inventory. The stores needs to have fresh item without inflating inventory. This is the most important need. For that, retailers want that, okay, please exchange 1:1. Whatever is not selling, I will return it to you, but please give it back to me. This was what retailers were saying. But Cherry Dory was saying, boss, I want to protect my sales. Whatever I have sold to you is sold. Now I can, if I just keep taking it back, what am I doing? What is the business model there? So they would say, okay, fine. I know your problem. I will take one back. But when I take one back, you have to buy 2 from me or 3 from me. Okay, this is the big conflict that these two entities were in. And this was identified through the process that I explained to you of looking at the negatives of the customers and linking it to cause and effect. Okay, and then we said the value that we want to deliver is there will be no dead stock at stores. This is what Cherry Dory said. I want to make sure that this happens. How it happens? Without me getting into a cash flow issue, I want to be able to achieve this. This is the power of identifying the limit. If this value can be delivered, and eventually it was delivered, I'll show you how. The company was in a completely different level of growth. Any questions still here? Am I going too fast? Okay, great. Let me just go ahead for the want of time. Uh, another way of arriving at what is the limitation to solve is the market side, where in this market side, we look at what is the unfulfilled need. So how do we do that? First thing is we look for, are there in our customer base that we have, are there any group of customers, small group of customers who spend a lot of time or effort or money to satisfy a specific need. For example, in the in the car industry, the example that we took, how many customers are there who would wait specifically to get the car model of their requirement, of their color, their kind of seat combinations, light combinations? How many customers are there who will wait for this long, even though the other model very close to what they need is already available immediately? Any guesses? How many such people would be there? It's just 1%. This statistics was shown there. Okay. Just 1% of the customer base who's really trying to get what they want. Now, the key for us, the challenge for us as the company is, how can we develop the product that will satisfy the need without the high associated cost for customers? This is the power. This is what we negligible, correct, Mr. Ramdas? So although the customer base is negligible, but if we can find a way that we can give you the customized car as per your choice within a week, that's when we solve the limitation. Okay, it's not that others don't want their car customized. It's just that the effort for them seems too much to be able to get that car customized. So they compromise and go with what is available. But if as a company we are able to find a way out, then we have got a value. And this is what I was talking about as an example, which is Nescafe's Nespresso machine. Also Panasonic. I'll share some details about these two. The idea is basically we have to find way to transform the extreme set of customers into mainstream set of customers without the high associated cost involved. Okay, that's when you will find the idea. So what we're talking about is about searching for the value. So I'm telling you the ways to search for the value. One was the customer side, other is this market side, which is how do you identify these small set of customers and transform them into mainstream. So let me just kind of briefly tell you about these two things. I think we are already running out of time. So we started sometime late. So let me just continue for a few more minutes and then we can conclude. So Panasonic, the TV segment, is a highly competitive segment. Okay, the competition is happening in just adding more and more features to it or increasing what they have, improvements as we talked about. And certain improvements are just ignored by the customer. So in this TV segment, they were facing a lot of trouble, and they ran through this process and they arrived at the limitation of the company, the limitation of the customer. The limitation was that certain customers were spending a lot of money in doing the interiors in a way that their TV is hidden. They don't want the TV to be displayed in their drawing rooms. So they would do all sorts of interior arrangement so that the TV kind of gets hidden in the whole setup. So they found this, and they found a way to have a TV which does not show. It's like a transparent TV. Okay, it's already there in the market. The test is going on. So that's the limitation that they have solved, and by solving that limitation, they are in a completely different league altogether. Okay, and the changes that is required, it's not easy to copy, and the customer base is high because now it's easily available. So everyone wants to show whatever they have, right? So and then there's a large segment of customers who have become mainstream now, who don't want to show the TV displayed in their drawing rooms. Another very interesting thing is Nespresso machine. I'm sure you might have seen it. It's available these days all across. So what was the small set of customers here? These customers were spending too much of effort to get fresh coffee, fresh aroma coffee. Often when you get this powder coffee and brew it, the aroma is lost. Okay, if it is freshly grinded, the aroma is much higher, much better. So they were having a grinder in their kitchen, and then they were grinding it first, and then they were making coffee out of it. It takes a lot of space and time to be able to do that. So they came up with the idea that can we have this set of customers as an example, and can we make a machine that don't need so much of space, so much of effort, but still gives the freshness that as of aroma. And they came up with coffee capsules, which can be done through these machines. And this was the product which significantly added to the profitability of the company. And the important thing to highlight, while we will not discuss it, is this product was not sold through the regular channels of Nescafe. Okay, they were very strong in the distribution channels through retailers, but they didn't sell it through this. They created a separate channel of their own stores and sold through it, because that's the business model they have developed once they went into the whole process of innovation. Okay, and then let's look at the third one, which is identifying the product side. So in product side, what we do is we look at the product itself and see what are the parameters, and if there are certain parameters which can be significantly improved or significantly reduced. And then we identify if that will add certain value to certain set of customers. A very good example is, let me just take you through the process first and then go to the example. What are the parameters and features that the product consists of? Assuming that we dramatically change a parameter up or down, how it will impact the customer. This is what we discussed. And can we add new and meaningful parameters and features? Not just adding just like that, but it should be meaningful. Or can we subtract? That is important thing, which we often miss. There is a big value if we remove certain features of the product, but enhance certain other features. A very, very good example is this. I'm sure you might remember it from your good old days. Earlier, the stereo used to be very large, bulky, with speakers and recorders and everything. But there would be this small set of customers who would carry it along. So I told you, right, with both the routes, you might get into the same result. So this result of Walkman can come through this small segment route, the market side route, wherein you see a small set of customers who's carrying the stereo and listening to the music. So there was this need to listen to the music on the go. If you see it from the product side, this whole stereo is having certain features. What if we are able to remove the speakers, remove the recorders, and what we are left with is this? And then I did say that this is the value which customers can get, that they can listen to the music on the go. Another great example is GoPro. Camera is very, very competitive industry, but this company came up with the idea, US company, this came up with the idea of GoPro. They removed most of the features. This was the most basic feature camera. If you show it to any engineer, he would say, what kind of camera is this? Where is this innovation? This has got nothing. But the power of this is, this camera can take moving pictures very, very beautifully. So if you are in an adventure where you're trying to kill yourself, then if you want to record yourself, then you can use this camera and record the whole thing. So this is GoPro camera, wherein we remove certain features, and that's where we add value. So I hope you got some sense of what is the POC's approach to look for identifying what is the limitation, and with that, what is the value we can deliver. Any questions till here? Okay, now I want to check with the organizers, association team. Shall we go ahead, or shall we kind of keep it for some time later, because we are already running out of time? This was the main part which we said we will discuss, the value search part, because this is the critical first step. And very quickly, let me just take you through, just so that you get the whole essence of it. I'll not get into too much of examples, okay, for this value proposition. So value design is basically, telling you that once you have this idea, once you have seen the limitation, don't stop. And this is big mistake that we do. Many of the life's failures are people who did not realize how closely they were to success when they gave up. Okay, so don't give up just now. Okay, you have to go one more step further. Yes, currently there must be reason why this concept looks unthinkable. Like in Sherry Dory case, how can we avoid no dead stock? That's crazy. You cannot do that, and you simply say no to it. But don't stop there. There must be a long-lasting reason why this conflict is not resolved. Remember the conflict between stores and the brand? So there is a good reason why it is not solved. We have to take effort to solve that, and TOC gives us the way to solve this conflict. A very powerful tool of TOC. In order to deliver the exceptional value, we need to break this conflict. And how to break this conflict is this tool of TOC, where we help. And if this conflict is existing for long, then the value that you will unleash if you are able to successfully break this conflict is amazing, mind-boggling. Some of the examples, I'll not get into how to do it right now. It will take some time. But once we have identified the conflict, this was the conflict. The solution that the Sherry Dory case happened was, they said that boss store team, look, listen, I have got a lot of inventory with me, Sherry Dory, right? So all this inventory is yours. You just choose what you want, whenever you want, I will deliver you. If something you choose, and if it is not selling, okay, you choose when you want me to return, I will return it to you immediately. No question asked, one-on-one. Understood? So anything you want, whenever you want to change, it's all there for you. I will do it. Only request is, whatever you are selling, you buy it immediately from me, so that you hold a constant amount of display at your store. So what is selling, you are buying. What is selling, you're buying. So this was a game changer in the industry. The inventory terms significantly improved. It more than 3 times happened, okay, from what they were, and the sales improved tremendously. Now this was the solution. You can replace any item any day without the need to provide any explanation. This means that there is no dead stock, right? Because now you're able to replace. So store can choose. It's not selling, take it back. Fine, take it back. Give me this. So you take what is selling or what you think will sell. And then there is a continuous fresh item, and then you keep selling more and more, and then you keep buying more and more, because the condition is that you keep constant amount of display. So this was a big thing in the industry. And this means we have been able to build a win-win partnership and increase sales and increase ROI for both stores and brands. So it's not lose or win, it's win-win. That's the whole objective of breaking the conflict. Otherwise, it's a compromise. Similarly, for Nescafe, the problem was what? Excellent coffee machines are required, but it needs 2 things. One is it should be simple and affordable, which means develop a simple coffee machine without a grinder. But then for a coffee machine to be excellent, it should also have fresh aroma. And for this fresh aroma, you should develop a coffee machine with a grinder. Now, with a grinder, you should develop, or without a grinder. So companies tend to develop both and let the customer choose. But customer also wants both at the same time, right? So then they came up with this machine. And this machine, this idea was not just a fluke. It was a very well thought of way by how do we break this conflict. This is the TOC's power of identifying how to break the conflict. Okay, and
Mr. Akshat ji, are you able to listen to my voice? I'm Ravi Kumar.
Yes, Mr. Ravi Kumar, I'm able to listen.
That was great presentation. It's over? It's completed? Or?
Yeah, I think almost done. Just 1 or 2 slides, if you allow me. Otherwise,
no, you can go ahead. See, I think members are leaving. That's why I just wanted to.
Okay. So I think the eventually point is, how do we evaluate? So the way to evaluate is, we should be able to build on the ideas, right? This idea should not be in isolation. Whatever idea we come up with, whatever business model we develop, it should be helping us to build something next over and above it. So that's how we evaluate it. I'll not get into it too much for now. If there are more questions, we can discuss, or we can discuss certain next steps. If some of the members are interested, we can also do some sessions. Visu, you want to explain this?
Yeah. So I would like to park here that this is a very good concept, which is a long session, but we wanted to give you a crisp, so that to give all of you a basic idea. If somebody wants to understand deeper, or some group of the companies wants to understand deeper, yes, we can do. Specifically for a certain company, whoever shows interest, we can do an extended discussions. For that, I would request whoever, please get in touch with Divya Shori, who is centrally coordinating all these kind of sessions. So that brings end to our session. So over to Ravi Kumar.
Yeah. Good evening, both Akshat Agarwal and Vishwasan Sundaramji. I thank you very much on behalf of AIRIA Southern Region for giving an excellent presentation. Might be there can be some technical error or problem why people are not connected, because we had a registration of somewhere around about 54 -4 4 to 5. You just We had a registration of some 40 members. I expected them to join, but I don't know what had happened to them. But anyway, still, and I thank very much Akshatji Agarwal and Vishweswaran Sundaram for giving a very good presentation. And I will get in touch with Divya also to have the further more webinars in a large numbers. That will be better. Thank you again, once again. Thank you very much. And thank you all the members who had participated. Thank you very much again.
Thanks. Thanks a lot, Divya, for all your support in this.
Thank you. Thank you so much to both of you. And thank you, Mr. Ravi. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. இவனே ஆனா வர சொல்ல அந்த டீ வாங்கி வர சொல்லு.